What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. We are down night one of WrestleMania 39. It just ended a moment ago, and we are going to break down the card, what happened, all the results, all the good stuff that we want to talk about. A couple things here and there, I'm sure, that we are going to nitpick or talk about just being on the bad side, but we're going to break everything down here as we normally do. And if you don't know who we are, then here you go. Here's a quick rundown. I'm Tony Mango, joined as always by Callum Wiggins.
Hey there.
And Robert D. Felice.
Hello.
We already did our NXT Stand and Deliver post-show earlier today, so go ahead and check that out if you haven't done that already. Check out the ROH Supercard of Honor breakdown that we did last night as well. We are continuing on here with night one of WrestleMania, as I said, so a lot to break down. And we got some people in the chat right now that I can see. We got Frankie, we got Amelia, we got Mark, we got Mets Champ, we got Daniel, we got Michael, we got Jeb, we got Baden. What's up, everybody? Chat it up. I'll be reading these here and there throughout the night. And I would say Brandon as well just popped up. Everybody chat it up as much as you can. If you're listening to this after the fact, still leave a comment below. Tell us what you thought about the pay-per-view. Tell us what you thought about the podcast. All that good stuff here. How are you guys feeling, Rob and Callum?
I feel pretty good after all that. I think most of what needed to delivered, and some areas fell flat, which we will discuss.
Yeah, I thought it was an absolutely great show from for the overall. Yeah, there are a few little bits that we'll talk about, but yeah, I think for the most part it's an all-time classic thing, and as I think will probably be the case, it's left a very tough act to follow, which I do not think it can live up to. But we'll see how tomorrow one. But yeah, this was great.
I think night two has a good shot given some of the elements that are on the card. But I will say that from match two through the main event, I thought this was a solid show.
Yeah, I think that this definitely is setting a very high benchmark that they're going to have to try to at least get close to. If not, I don't know if they'll be able to top it, but at least I'd rather have that be the case than for it to be like, all right, let's see if they can make up for this or something. Obviously I want everything to be fantastic, but I do seem to be coming across almost all positive things. So it seems like most people are in the same conjunction here. I'm sure we're all going to agree. There are a couple hiccups, but a few mistakes here and there on a show as long as this one. Hey, that's something that you can easily look past and start talking about all the positives and stuff. Some more people are popping up in the chat as well. Josh popping up in the chat. Chris, Aaron popping up in the chat as well. What's up, everybody? A lot of positives that I'm seeing right here. Goddamn, WrestleMania Night's classic. Love this Mania so much. Great show. No words for Rhea, Ripley, and Charlotte. Tag team showcase. Geez. Yeah, we're going to get into everything that's going on here. Starting things off, of course, just to remind everybody of a couple little things just to get them out of the way and make sure that things are all completely cleaned up. If you are enjoying this podcast, or if you're enjoying the channel and everything, make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you hit that little like button that's on there. Ring that notification bell in case you're not checking this out live and you wanted to get the email alert for that. Also click on that little thanks button. It's just a means to help us keep the lights on here. Little join button you can see on YouTube is also the thing that gives you access to the same as the Patreon. So help support us in that way if you can. Check out TeePublic and Redbubble for some merchandise options. As far as giving back to you guys instead of the merchandise side of things, we have the Road to WrestleMania contest where you can win a Dusty Rhodes Funko Pop. It's all sponsored by Fun.com. Enter that as much as you can. Couple days from now, we're going to pick one of those winners, not all three of them in the same time. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do that, but we have the Smark Madness tournament going on at the moment right now with the best wrestling family dynasties of all time. And of course, we will be talking about some other things for you to stay tuned to later on, but we got so much Mania stuff. I want to just start diving right into this. The kickoff itself, 2 hours worth of this, nothing at all to talk about except for I wasn't a big fan of the people that were popping up, and I don't know who most of them are. It was like, hey, everybody, it's this person from this thing, and here's Guy. Guy is talking about whatever. I didn't like the one guy that was just kind of going on like a drunken tirade about stuff, but any noteworthy things on the kickoff you guys want to mention, or funny things you noticed or anything?
Actually enjoyed the genuine enthusiasm from the celebrities. For that matter, the guy's name is Raphael. I have no idea who he was.
Not the slightest clue.
He was just like, yeah, Mysterio's gonna kick his son's ass. That would never fly in Mexico. Let me tell you something, Mexico, it wouldn't fly. And they had to like really rein him in.
I like that the crowd started chanting for Barrett, and Barrett's like, what do you want me to do?
What do you want me to do? He's like, it's just a really fun time. Like, it was a solid kickoff for an empty kickoff, you know?
Did you check it out at all, Callum?
Yeah, I had it on the background when I was doing other things because I knew that nothing was happening.
Yeah, so, I was doing pretty much the same.
The only notable thing actually from the kickoff was a shot of a shot in a video package which probably shouldn't have been in a video package.
Yes.
Yeah, not the best call for whoever was looking up like some Getty images or something.
So, I mean, you have to think that like with that clip and Gunter Stark and all of this stuff, that someone just has either a real either does have a Nazi fetish or just seems to walk into Nazi stuff over and over and over again.
They're like, oh man, like, you know, when you get like those targeted ads on your phone. They're like, oh, I keep getting the same suggestions. What's happening in here? Yeah, not the best call. Of course, it's one of those things that is very much going to go over a lot of people's heads. So it's not like they drew attention to it 100%, whatever. But you should try to avoid those things going forward. We check a couple other things that's going on in the chat right now. I see people talking about some other stuff, about some weak points. Yeah, we'll get into some of these for sure. Michael tossing out there, 17 of us right now, only 3 hit the like button. Hit that like button, y'all. Exactly. Listen to Michael. He's got the right idea here.
Hit the like button, yeah, but thank you for 17. Let's grow that number.
It's already growing a little bit more. So thanks everybody for joining us. Pass the share button around as well too. You know, get some more people in here. The more the merrier. See, Marco says, Cena Theory is the only match I dislike. Cena in the ring doesn't do anything for me. And people mostly talking about that. So let's start getting into that once we just get past the very intro of the whole thing. Becky G singing America the Beautiful. I believe it was Peyton. Mike, tell me if it wasn't you or not. Double check about just being like, man, I'm so sick of this song. She did a fine enough job. It's one of those things that I've talked about a million times. When people start doing the runs and trailing off and from sea to shining sea. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. I hate that stuff. But we had a Kevin Hart intro for the cold open, and we started off with The Miz and Snoop Dogg, and no pyro. I was a little disappointed in that. But all that stuff just kind of very quickly went away. It wasn't giving me that full-on amazing WrestleMania vibe quite yet. And Austin Theory
was out there at the very beginning because it was a theme throughout the night. The only people who got to see the actual video packages were the people who subscribed to ad-free Peacock, because those with ads were subjected to commercials.
And they had some other commercials here and there throughout the night too. We might talk about some of them, at least some specifically targeted ads. We don't need to really get into the whole, like, this is sponsored by Intuit or something. But the opening match was, as they had it said before, the United States Championship. Austin Theory coming out first. Nothing special of an entrance. John Cena coming out with a group of Make-A-Wish kids. Mm-hmm. And that's very cool. You know, the Make-A-Wish kids get to be on the stage at WrestleMania. Like, that's awesome. And everybody that I was chatting with on 4 or 5 different group threads, at least one person in every chat went, oh, I mean, Cena's winning now, right?
Apparently, no. Like,
yeah. And go ahead.
I put in our chat, I had already predicted Austin Theory was going to win, and I stuck with that.
Proud of you.
Yeah. I mean, that won me over. I was like, okay, I'm switching over to the Cena side of it, because I was not anticipating that this match would go down with, hey, the Make-A-Wish kids come out. One of them's like, you better win, John, or something. I forget exactly what he had said. And then for them to have an okay, but really, I mean, when you compare it to the rest of the matches on the night, the most lackluster match that was on the card by far. It was fine, and it would have, been good in a better scenario, I think, if this wouldn't have been the opener of WrestleMania, and a lot of people are going to judge it more harshly for that. But Cena's done worse, and they kind of did the bare minimum, I guess you could say. I think that the phrase that you used, Rob, was they went with the most flat ending possible.
Because it's like, they didn't do, oh wow, and Cena came in and smoked him. They didn't do, and Theory came in and absolutely upset this dude who's complete with ring rust. It was just, hey, they had a okay Raw match for 15 years ago. Theory punched him in the balls at his finisher, and John didn't even kick out of a single finisher. It's just a bit like, it's just a bit
blah.
flat. And to be honest, I kept making this argument when we were talking about John opening the show. By the end of the night, he was such an afterthought.
Mm-hmm. That's partially because, of course, everything is so long and so jam-packed and all. But it did feel a little flat. I mean, they had referee Chad Patton take a bump. Theory tapped out. Naturally, the referee's not paying attention to that. That allows Theory to hit a low blow and an 8-count down and then just get the win. And felt a little short and simple in a lot of ways. But I am still glad the Theory retained. I know that there could have been some different options we were pitching about, like Cena dropping the belt on Raw or having a match on night 2 of WrestleMania and doing something kind of like a, little swerve here and there and all. But if you didn't have anything lined up for that, I think that ultimately Theory just winning is the better idea. I just still don't think it should have been the opener. And I get that in their mind, they probably were going with, well, it's John Cena, and that's a great opener for that way. And actually, to be perfectly honest, maybe this is one of those things that in retrospect, we don't know unless we were to switch it up and, live in a parallel universe. But maybe that going out first and then everything getting like higher and higher throughout the night helped some of that, instead of starting off with something hotter, taking a dip, and then something else having to come back up. You know what I mean?
I mean, I thought the match was mediocre at best, and just as like paint by numbers you possibly can get. And then when you compare it with, it's average, and then when you compare it to everything else that happened on the show, it's outright bad. It's a bad match, and it's incredibly weak. And it didn't. And you say like, oh, I'm glad that Fury retained. Like, obviously, I wanted Fury to win, but it could have been a case of, all right, you either have him beat Cena in a minute or two, and just like, okay, he dominated the veteran and established himself, or you have a banger match and you have Fury win that way. You didn't do either, which means that Cena's burial of the guy coming out of it is going to ring true, because he's going to come out on the Raw after WrestleMania, and no one's going to care because he just, cheated to win in the worst match on the show, arguably.
And they literally telegraphed that, and that's what's disappointing. Is Cena literally said, "If you lose, you lose, and if you win, you lose." And we're honestly looking at the one scenario where it's, oh, he won, and by Monday he's going to lose, because people are going to be talking about whatever happens with Cody and Roman. People are going to be talking about Sami and Kevin winning the belts. And no one's.
And they forgot this match ever happened.
Yeah.
Now, with such a busy weekend, there are going to be so many matches that everybody goes, oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot that happened on this pay-per-view and all. But I'm hoping that they have some plan to follow up with Theory, and it's not just the very literal, most basic thing that they always do, which is he comes out and he cuts a promo on Raw and he goes, I beat John Cena at WrestleMania. You all thought that I couldn't win, but I did it. And then they don't have anything, So whether they have somebody pop up
send out like Rollins again or something.
Yeah, then somebody just like beats him for a United States title after that or whatever. I don't know. But like if they have a good plan to follow it up, maybe they can salvage that. But could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot better. In the grand scheme of it, this is one of the things that are we would call one of the hiccups, I would say.
It was one of the only, it was this and something at the very near end of the show.
For the most part, yeah. So
I know you're being being a bit generous. I don't think this could have gone much worse, honestly. Like outside of one of them actually getting injured and having like an outright bad match, I think this is like realistically the worst case scenario was how this match played out. I think.
I could think of so many worse things. They could have had Theory tap out in 2 seconds and shit his pants or something. You know, I mean,
That
like
would've
they
been
could.
great.
Well.
That would have been memorable.
I think him tapping out in a couple of seconds would have been better than this. I think
That would have been memorable. This, I do agree with Callum. This is an afterthought, and it's so ironic that Cena was the guy for so long, because he, more than anyone in a lot of years, really feels like he's just doing matches because they have some matches on his contract. He just comes in and does almost less than the bare minimum and goes home.
Well, he's got to do at least one per year, right? So
the only thing I do want to say about this match, there was a really cool moment when he did the 5 moves of doom. He puts his hands up for the "You Can't See Me" and just looks around and genuinely just goes, "Thank you," and then does it, and it was a huge pop. And you can tell that Cena is in a phase of his life where he knows that he's going to not be doing this for too long.
So in the chat right now, let me know, everybody, where would you like to see Theory go from here? How do you salvage the downsides to this? What would you like to see the follow-up to be? What's going on with all that stuff? Frankie's asking, when do you guys think he's going to hang it up for John Cena, I'm assuming? I think he's going to still try to do another match, maybe sometime later. I still think that they're going to do John Cena versus Logan Paul at some point, whether it's the Saudi show or it's SummerSlam or whatever it is. I'm expecting at least that, but probably another year or two or something for Cena. It depends on how long he wants to keep popping up for a couple minutes a year. You know?
I mean, I would say, and maybe people think that it's harsh, but I'd say if this is the level now, then sooner the better, really.
In some ways,
because I don't want him to become the Undertaker, holding on till the very end, and can occasionally be dragged into a good match. But for the most part, everything the Undertaker did from WrestleMania 30 onwards was crap for the most part. So
yeah,
I don't want Cena to be that guy as well.
I think the closest thing I can compare him to is Hunter, because Hunter had a lot of those matches where towards the end of it, he did a number of them and they were just sort of paint by numbers. But John is in a place where different, because his movie career is thriving very quickly, and maybe we'll get more from him at some point down the line. But right now, it's clear that his interests are very much elsewhere.
Steve's suggesting Cena Orton WrestleMania 40 just for the meme.
I think I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I don't know anything, but I'll say SummerSlam Logan Paul
to be his last match.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're about 5 years away from that.
Dane's suggesting Theory Cody after Reigns gets his rematch at SummerSlam. Of course, we'll figure that out when it comes to tomorrow night too. That's another whole thing. Baron saying, I think Theory drops the title and moves to SmackDown to start fresh. Could be the case. I mean, we are still kind of in the dark as far as potential drafts or anything. I still think we're getting one, but until they announce something, I don't know, we might not even have a brand split after WrestleMania for all we know. Theory telling the referee that was 5 when Cena kicked out at 2. That was 5. I didn't notice that.
Theory going anywhere near the main event at this point feels like it feels like it's miles away at this point. He just doesn't. It's just the case that everything Cena said in that promo was right. He's not ready, and this match kind of proved it.
Josh saying, will Cena become a 17-time champ? I don't think so at this point.
I do.
I'd be down for it. I wouldn't mind them having him break.
Goldberg came back and won the title 17 years later.
That's true. I mean, it's not like they couldn't put the belt on him for one night or something, or a quick couple of weeks leading into Mania or something. I'd be down for it, but I don't think it'll happen necessarily. After this, we had a little special appearance by WWE Hall of Famer, Warrior Award winner, Titus O'Neill, who had one of my favorite lines of the night. He said, as a global ambassador, I have been global ambassading all day.
Did he say that?
I've been global ambassading all day.
That's funny.
I don't know if he planned on saying that like as a joke or if that was like his real, like, I guess that's the verb for it. But he also had another great line when he was on commentary of his particularly insightful insight of Otis is sweaty. And boy, was Otis sweaty. I mean, he had a whole patch of sweat on his ass crack during the match.
Yeah, you sure Maxine still wants him to be modeling for them moving forward?
Maybe that's like an extra added bonus. But as far as the bonus is concerned, man, the WrestleMania showcase for the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match, zero build for this, basically. I mean, they just sort of said, hey, here's a couple tag teams that are going to have a match, and that's it. And they kicked ass. This match was fucking great.
This was awesome.
Yeah, this was a great party match that really, like, all things considered, should have opened the show. Get things off started in a hot way. Yeah, they just did so many cool stuff. It was just a bunch of moves, but they were cool moves. Like having a Gable hit the O'Connor German suplex to Braun Strowman was great. And then they had that whole like Tower of Doom spot with Ricochet hitting the crossbody and flooring 6 people at the same time. Braun Strowman hitting a giant dive off the top rope, running the train outside the ring.
And then Dawkins just ramming into him and stopping him.
I love that moment because you guys know how much I try and big up Dawkins because everyone obviously talks about Montez, and rightly so. Montez is great, but Dawkins having that moment I just thought was great. Just him just flooring the big guy, and then he's the one that gets the pin after they hold down.
Ricochet goes for his Ricochet. I mean, effortless shooting star press on the outside and all. He goes for a move, and Dawkins puts the legs up, gets his knees up, and then Tez hits the frog splash on Ricochet, and Dawkins gets the pin. And from the start of this, where Chad Gable and Ricochet were wrestling in a way that made perfect sense, like Ricochet is spinning around to make sure he's not closer to his opponent so that they can't tag in and all. They were just doing a damn good job. And from start to finish, this was so fucking fun.
Yeah.
Can't say any more than that.
Like, it was just way more fun than it had any right to be. Street Profits, I think, maybe got their coolest win ever. That wasn't like a tag title win on Raw. It was just fun. It was just, this is what these matches should be now. Make it a number one contenders deal and do it every year.
If they've got the right people.
Yeah, didn't have the right people this year, and it was magic.
Well, I mean, look at the people involved. Like Viking Raiders, they're great. Street Profits, great. Braun Strowman did his part perfectly well as the big guy in this. Ricochet, of course, flipping around like crazy. Alpha Academy, like they all did a great job. So if you end up in a situation where your tag teams are depleted roster, like they've done in the past, where it's like the best options you have, or if they would have thrown in maximum male models and stuff, then I don't know about that. But we know it's an option now. You could just have the WrestleMania showcase and throw in some tag teams and do that. And let's see if the men's WrestleMania showcase is overtaken by the women's WrestleMania showcase tomorrow. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah.
But then, I will say after this match though, if you're looking for people that could be challengers for Austin Theory for his United States Championship, I give you Montez Ford and Chad Gable as the two ones that I would nominate from this match.
Gable, Ford, I'd go Dawkins even for a one shot, like at least to try. Ricochet, of course. Can't go wrong with Ricochet in a match. But yeah, they really need to pay attention to, like, you got a lot of talented people here. And when you tell them to go out there and put on a good show, they can put on a damn good show. Daniel in the chat, I don't think the women's will be as good, but I'm hoping, exactly what we're talking about. Logan Paul and Seth Rollins followed this up, and Logan Paul's entrance was a lamer version of the Shawn Michaels zip line. It was a little too kind of slow, and he was just sort of like very casually working his way down and all. But then a Prime Energy drink mascot person comes out with him, and I immediately go, man, I hope that Rollins hits a stomp on that thing. Rollins comes out after his entrance is a conductor trying to get the crowd to, do the whoa. And I honestly don't feel like it hit as well for me as it could have because of the piped in crowd noise that they just sort of already had a choir do that, and it kind of overtook that for me. But I very quickly forgot about that when I saw what Rollins was wearing. He looked ridiculous.
Yeesh.
There were so many different things that could be like equated to. I had written down on my EWM post that he looks like he's gift wrap with the red stuff and the pink harness and the chaps and all. It's got one of the biggest reactions from my wife throughout the night of just kind of like, what the fuck is he wearing? I don't get it. I mean, maybe it's just not for me. I just don't understand this.
JEFFJARRETT. That was some straight up Jeff Jarrett looking gear, and it's so silly.
Peter suggesting that it was Double J. I mean, Double J had some good outfits in the past with like the light up hat and all, but this was not one of them. Peter suggesting the pink was for their little girl Rue. Did they say something about that maybe, or I don't know? Brandon saying I like the outfit. To each their own, man. I mean, clearly Seth Rollins did, but I already have that down on one of my absolute worst ring gears for the year, or at the end of the year awards. We're gonna probably end up talking about this quite a bit, but you guys think that Logan Paul has a pinky injury from this? Seemed like throughout the whole match that he was keeping that off to the side and that wasn't moving, and the rest of his fingers were.
He might, but like I don't really think so.
I don't know. He did a damn good job though. They had a great match. A couple fun moments here and there, of course, that we can talk about some specific. One of them being the Prime Energy drink person costume ended up being KSI of all people.
Mm-hmm. That was really cool and legitimately threw me through a loop because I had just written an article last week about how he said, I have no interest in being there. I have no business being in WWE. So just to see him do that was fun because I thought it was just Jake Paul in the suit. Like
you went with Jake Paul. I was thinking to myself, I wonder which NXT person is in there. Because I was like, I'm just conditioned at this point to think if you've got somebody that everybody like with a DDP comes out and he's driving the car for a WrestleMania entrance, like that kind of stuff. I was just like, they're not showing a face. It's probably like Zion Quinn or whatever, and they're just going to have them take a move, and that's going to be about it. And lo and behold, instead, not only is it KSI, but they do a fun little spot with the Spanish announcers table where Logan Paul is going up for a jump off the top of the ropes, and Rollins pulls KSI onto the table, and Logan Paul crashes on top of him. I'm like, yeah, it's great. That's a highlight for sure.
Yeah, that'll send social media crazy soon. Yeah, I was pretty confident it was KSI because KSI is the prime business partner with Logan. So, and yeah, if he was going to be there, then Jake Paul certainly wouldn't be because those two, well, at least from a social media perspective, don't like each other. But again, it might just be another case of fabricated animosity, which is the case that Logan Paul and KSI even came together in the first place.
It's a work shoot, bro.
Yeah.
Go brother.
But yeah, this was a very good match. Obviously, like Logan Paul is incredibly athletic. Like when he did the essentially like box jump to the top rope and then hit a moonsault. Well, missed a moonsault, but like went for the moonsault off of that. That's a great feat of athleticism. I think it must be quite weird for Seth Rollins to be wrestling a guy that's like I think it's like his fifth match. He's already at his level, if not better. Yeah,
it's super weird.
Right, it must be a bit of a punch to the gut for Rollins, but at least he gets to take solace in the fact that he got the victory after hitting the curb stomp on this one.
He got a featured match against a celebrity who did a good job. It's going to be giving him lots of media coverage and all. Like, if you're in Rollins' shoes and you're complaining, I don't know what to tell you, because this was great. This was a great segment.
I'll tell you
I
what.
guess you didn't. I guess you didn't. As I say, I guess you didn't hear the interview that you didn't hear the interview that Rollins gave earlier today. Then
what was that about him thinking that he should be in Cody's spot thing?
No, they almost came to blows over it. Like
Logan Paul?
No, Cody.
They were talking about how Cody said in an interview recently that he almost got into a fight with Seth Rollins backstage, and Seth just didn't deny it, but he didn't say. He said I'm just not going to go too much into detail about it. But yeah, him talking about how he thinks that he should be where Cody is now because the work that he's put into it.
Boo fucking who?
Yeah, just cool story, bro.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Everybody on the roster thinks that they should be the champion.
But it's different for Seth. Seth, I think, has a legitimate gripe of, I want to fucking headline WrestleMania.
Oh, the guy who ended up finishing the WrestleMania that he cashed the Money in the Bank in, and also beat Brock for WrestleMania.
He opened it, though.
Still, you did way more than most people have done, and it's not like your career is over. You might do it next year,
right, but it's become very clear that despite the corporate speak, people want the main event spot at WrestleMania. They don't want a main event. They want to headline the show.
Yes, what are you guys thinking about that idea I had about him going to AEW now?
I still don't think it's going to happen. I still think he's sticking in WWE.
No, it probably won't.
Yeah.
Probably won't. But
I believe it a little bit more than I did when you said it the other day.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know if they end up switching those two, and then it's like we got a new EVP. Seth Rollins, good old Tyler Black pops up in AEW. Maybe, I don't know. Well, that was a great segment. Seth Rollins gets the win with the stomp. And now Logan Paul is not under contract, unless maybe they hammered something out earlier today, but I highly doubt that they would have been spending backstage at WrestleMania to do that. I think that he's probably going to still re-sign, that they're probably going to do some more matches in the future, and I think that the way that this went down really well is another indication of that. Just why wouldn't you want to bring him back, and why wouldn't he want to return, Or I guess maybe if he did scratch that itch, maybe he might not want to, but if I'm WWE, I'm going to be trying to get him.
I'm sure they're going to get him.
And,
he'll be back by the Saudi show.
Which, when is the next one of those? It's King and Queen of the Ring, right?
Yeah, May 27th, right?
Yeah, so not too far off, and they can hammer something out, I'm sure. They'll figure it out. And we'll talk about that on the hot tags when eventually that ends up happening. So Frankie's saying give him a title as well. I mean, could be. Especially if he signs a new contract, they could get some more appearances out of him or something. And who knows? Maybe we're looking at him as Intercontinental Champion or something down the line. I don't know. But our next match after that was the 6-woman tag team match. Becky Lynch, Lita, and Trish Stratus against Damage Control's Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky. And the Becky Lynch, Lita, and Trish intro was like a cinematic black and white type thing. Not really my favorite from the night. What do you guys think about it?
I really liked it. I thought it was a good kind of aesthetic to it. It had almost like a Sin City feel to me. So I thought it worked.
That was really good. That it scratched the nostalgia itch. They did as good as they possibly were going to. We've talked ad nauseum about how Trish and Lita are in the ring. I think she looks like she stepped out of 2005. I think it was as good as it was going to get. There's a lot of people complaining, Damage Control needs to disband. What can they do? It's like, fucking every faction loses again and again and again and again and again. It's just the process, unfortunately. And I don't know. I don't understand the complaints. I thought this was great.
Well, if you're a fan of Sin City, I should tell you that you should be checking out Batman, A Nighttime Story, 100 records from the Wayne Foundation archives over on fanboysanonymous.com. This is my Batman epic as part of my Blueprint project. More details of that if you want to know more, I don't want to run down that too much on WrestleMania, but definitely check that out. Definitely show your support for that. And who knows, maybe I'll end up doing a Sin City thing down the line. But that is all over on Fanboys Anonymous. So show your support for the Blue brand. Check that out. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. Hit up that Patreon. And share the Batman blueprint with everybody else that you think might be interested. And just share it on social media. Help me out quite a bit. We could talk about a lot of stuff in this match here and there. As far as, I write down a lot of things when it comes to people's ring gear and stuff just for the notes. But I wasn't a big fan of how they just had no synergy whatsoever with the babyface team. Like, Becky's in just this generic orange and black outfit. Lita looks like she's part of a NASCAR flag, and Trish had a great outfit on, but I mean, not surprising. The match itself, look, I wasn't expecting much, to be honest. We've seen what Lita's been able to do the past couple of years when she's popped up. Trish, of course, not 20-something years ago when she would have been in her prime and all. Becky held her own. Of course, people did their jobs here and there, and one of the weaker matches for sure for me, but I wasn't expecting much more than it, so it's fine.
Yeah, as I think Rob said, it was like it's the scratching in nostalgia itch. You got to see Lita do a moonsault and hit a twist of fate, and Trish did the Stratus faction and the head scissors, like a more like advanced version of the head scissors that threw Dakota Kai onto the floor onto damage control.
Champ to Io, man. Io took that thing full on in the face, and I just think like she's a champ because that could have went bad, and it didn't.
The assisted her crown, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Io also did like a moonsault off the top rope to the floor, so that was cool as well. Yeah, there was like some good stuff in between the fact that like Lita and Trish are rusty, and Lita at her best was never really that good anyway. So it wasn't actually going to be like that great of a match. But you know, I think they all worked hard, and it certainly wasn't the worst thing on the show. So yeah, for the most part, it's like a thumbs up that's drooping slightly towards the middle. But yeah, I can't complain that much.
It's an Orange Cassidy thumbs
also,
up.
Trish, yeah. Also, Trish's outfit was a ode to the same outfit she wore at the WrestleMania 21 the last 21, time they went to last time they went to Hollywood. So yeah, so she did a version of that. I agree there wasn't that much synergy between them, but they're not really a team. So
I would have liked if Becky and Lita would have done something similar to that, though. Like, just, I mean, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, that doesn't affect the quality of the match, but it does at least visually go like, you put the effort into that or whatever. And, I mean, it's a little bonus.
I will say, like, I do get Rob's point about damage control and the fact that factions do lose, but they've just always lost since they realistically only won one big match of their entire run, which was the first match they had at Clash of the Castle. And then ever since then, it's just been, they were two of them were the tag team champions for a little while, but the rest of it's just been loss. Any real big match, especially involving Bayley and the women's championship, has just been loss after loss. So I think it is time for the group to disband. They certainly don't really have much lined up for each other moving forward. I think they're just better off separately.
I think if they do disband, I'm not going to be too sad about it, but I think there's still a little bit of mileage you can get, because what's the good in splitting another tag team? You know?
That's part of the chat going on right now. When you guys think that Becky and Lita are going to drop the titles, when do you think that Damage Control is going to split up? When are all these things going to kind of come to a head? I anticipate Damage Control splitting up on Raw. And I think that those tag titles could be changing hands tomorrow night, but I think that there's a chance it could be on Raw as well. Or it could be on SmackDown, to be honest. I don't think it's going to be that far away.
I think that the Raw tag titles will change hands to whoever wins the showcase match tomorrow, and that will happen on Raw. And I think the damage control split will be extended out up until the next pay-per-view or so.
Which isn't too far off. So, yeah, let us know what you guys think. What do you expect to be happening? Frankie's suggesting rumors of Kairi Sane coming back. Has that been a thing?
There are no rumors. She was asked, would you like to go back to WWE? She said, yes, I have a lot of friends there. Damage Control was asked, would you like Kairi to come back? They said, yeah, we would like her in Damage Control. There's no rumors per se.
I don't think that necessarily would be the direction that they're going to take, like to just put Kairi Sane in there, but Sky Pirates could be a split off or something. I don't know. We'll see. So the 6-woman tag ends with Becky Lynch hitting a manhandle slam on Bayley for the pin. This definitely, I'm at least hoping, should be the end of this feud. I do not want to see Becky Lynch against Damage Control, any of the 3 members, for a good while. We've had months of this. It's time to move on. Thankfully, it's time to move on to Dominik Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio. Dominik's entrance was great. They have this footage of him in a prison. He's being taken out in a correctional van. He comes out with what might end up being my favorite ring gear throughout the year. He had a great outfit on and a Rey Mysterio kind of mask. Loved Dominik's entrance.
Mask that he wore at Halloween Havoc 97.
Rey comes out with Snoop Dogg and a low rider. He's got Eddie's theme. It transitions into Rey's. A lot of people popping for that too. What do you guys think about the entrances?
They were fucking great. They were the best WrestleMania entrances of the night. Like, Rey looked great. His superhero mask was fantastic. It had a little bit of a Great Muta-esque flair to it. This is the most like a star Dominik has looked since being a WWE superstar, and I think this was his first, like, okay, he's gonna be all right moment.
Yeah, I mean, I love the absurdity of ex-con Dom.
Yeah,
and yeah, him just coming out surrounded by cops. It's just it was a nice visual to just try and build up the idea that he believes that he's a badass, and he believes that he suffered in hard times in prison. And then Mysterio coming out the lowrider and Eddie's theme for a little while. The crowd popped big for Eddie's theme, and yeah, and then him high-fiving a Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy on the way.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch mascot. I was like, is that also KSI? I'm disappointed that the little mascot didn't do something in here. Just keep up the absurdity. Maybe they could film something backstage where it's the Prime Energy thing against the Cinnamon Toast Crunch mascot. What do they call the Cinnamon Toast Crunch mascot? Do they have a name for that?
They're the Cinemojis.
Cinemoji? Huh. They're cute little things. I like that. It just looks like it's like cracked out, you know?
The branding this year was next level.
They sold a lot of ad space. Yeah.
Yes, they did throughout the entire showcase. If you didn't know, it was presented by Intuit TurboTax because it was on every freaking LED board, including the ring apron. It was very weird. But I guess that's the future model, and, you know, kudos to them.
They're going to do exactly what they have been saying that they're going to do. They're going to maximize all that stuff as much as they can. And, I mean, look at cable TV. When somebody started doing those little ads at the bottom of the screen during the TV shows to be like, well, you know, we used to not pay for we used to pay for cable and not get commercials. So then we got commercials, and now we get commercials during the shows. I mean, everybody tries to play that stupid game. So in this fashion, it was weird. I mean, the entire time that the Dominik and Rey match is happening, we got Cinnamon Toast Crunch in the background, but it wasn't as over the top as it could have been. So if that ends up being the thing that lets them sign somebody else to the contract, then fucking do one of them a year, you know, whatever. I honestly don't think it was as bad as the Pitch Black match. That was just, hey, Mountain Dew, go out there for 5 minutes and do some shit thing. But this was fun. Red hot crowd, really loving the things like Rey whipping Dom with his belt. Dom had a great moment throwing water on Aaliyah's face, and he got slapped by Angie, and we got some interference, of course, from Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Then the rest of the LWO came out, Legado del Fantasma, even the odds. Big fan of this pretty much from start to finish. Dom hits a 619, Frog Splash gets a 2 count, a lot of heat there, and there's a good moment where Dom's going for an exposed turnbuckle, and that's all set up for him to get a chain. But Bad Bunny, who is ringside, grabs the chain from him. So we get a little setup of what's probably going to continue on with Backlash, and Ray hits a 619 and Frog Splash for the win. Great.
This was phenomenal. This is sports entertainment storytelling done proper. I can't even say it was too much, because I think everything added to it. The LWO coming out. Only thing I can complain about, and it's very clear to see why, because she was in a banger right after this match, but Rhea Ripley should have been involved here, because she's so pivotal to the story. That's my only issue.
No, I think it was the right decision to not have Rhea involved in this, but because she has bigger fish to fry, and we'll talk about that next. But I think that overall, the interference and the smoke and mirrors, and the whole the crowd was super into it, and you have the involvement of Aaliyah and Angie at ringside, and you have Ray slapping Dominik's behind with a belt and all this other stuff, and it elevated what is realistically bell to bell a good match into just being some of the best forms of sports entertainment. And it was one of my highlights of the show for sure. I just loved every second of it.
And I want to shout out here, Michael Cole was phenomenal. He was so into the idea of Rey Mysterio beating the shit out of his snot-nosed son that it made the match better. This is the stuff you constantly hear people go on and on about JR with, calling Triple H a son of a bitch and being into Austin stuff. This was a very good piece of work from everybody involved, and tremendous job.
Yeah, if you go onto the sports entertainment side of things, of course, where, hey, look, it's a story about a guy punishing his little dipshit son who was in prison for 2 hours or whatever they had said, and all
in a holding cell.
Yeah, it's ludicrous, it's ridiculous. It's exactly the type of fun, silly nonsense that when you pull it off well, it's super fun. If you don't pull it off well, it becomes extremely cringy, and you're like, why am I watching this garbage? And they pulled it off extremely well. This was a top to bottom fun match, and I'm excited to see where they go in the future. I think that Frankie is right. I think we're getting Ray, Santos Escobar, and Bad Bunny against Dom and Damian and Finn at Backlash. Maybe they incorporate something else along the line. Maybe there's a twist. Maybe there's they set up something for the hair versus mask thing to follow that or whatever. I don't know what their game plan is for the end game of this, but at least for this, I think it was the right call having Ray win. I think that they just did a good job putting Dominik over. They brought the family in really well. Very well done segment. Definitely one of my favorite highlights of the night. I don't know if I'd go so far, Brandon, as to set that match up for Backlash. I think that might end up being a little underwhelming if they go with Zelina as the next challenger for the championship. But let's talk about that SmackDown Women's Championship, because Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley had a fantastic match.
You see, Triple H said, if you just wait, you'll see the finished.
I still do not think that was worth it. I'll go that far as you fucked up a couple of years ago, then you fucked up a couple more years again, and all. This does not make up for it.
No, it doesn't, but this was absolutely fucking phenomenal, and this is what we thought they could do. And this ruled so much ass.
It started off a little bit flat for me, to be perfectly honest. The first couple minutes, I was like, "Oh, I hope I hope that this isn't it, you know?
I felt the exact same way. I thought for the first like 5 to 10 minutes of the match, I thought it was pretty, not I would say bad, but it was just a bit, lackluster. And I think the crowd were also playing that part into that because they really didn't want to see Charlotte Flair win. And as the match actually wore on and it became more possible that Charlotte was going to win, that actually aided the match because they were so animated towards the thought of, oh my God, are they actually not going to give Rhea the victory? So that played into it. But early on, it was just a case of the crowd was kind of over Charlotte in general. And then that kind of led into them just kind of not being super interested in this match. There were a few sloppy moments as well initially, but then they start ramping up the intensity, start going in some bigger spots.
The DDT that Ripley took, that was a really good DDT.
Yeah, really good sell of that DDT. Like Charlotte hitting the moonsault to the outside as she typically does, some great near falls off of like big boots and spears, and Rhea hitting the first riptide and Charlotte getting out of that, and the crowd really bought that as that should have been the finish, but it wasn't. Charlotte never really got the figure 4 on in this. She got it on once, but Rhea was immediately at the ropes, so we never really got to see her use the figure 8 or the figure 4 to try and get the victory.
I love that.
We did get to see her land face first. Holy shit.
That fucking... So, she took one German suplex off the top rope and did the full flipping moonsault off of that, and that was great. And then she does another one where I swore that she landed on the top of her head. Then when you see the replay, she just missed it, but then got a massive like mat burn on the bridge of her nose.
Yeah, it's like she had a very slight rotation that prevented her from landing on her forehead and instead landing basically on her nose. And I'm surprised she's not like concussed or something from that, because that looked like that was just like, oh, damn. You know what I mean? And Rhea Ripley wins with a riptide from the top rope, which is a good finish for that too.
I want to say that I think it was phenomenal that Rhea Ripley appeared deadly afraid of the idea of being trapped. And that's awesome because she knows she's tapped out. She taps out every time she gets into it. And she was fighting for her life. And that's such a cool element when you have so many people just sort of no-sell moves sometimes. And that's how you establish a finishing move as deadly. And Rhea had the match of her life. And the Avalanche Riptide was awesome. And it was probably the match they've been dreaming of having. They probably had a little bit of a chip on their shoulder because they were not the main event.
Hey, it worked.
Rhea Ripley got pyro as though she was the main event. So bless her. Yeah, but the one thing I have to say about this match after the match is Charlotte did the same thing we just talked about with Roxanne, where she just sort of yay.
The camera's specifically on her, clapping and smiling, happy that Ripley just beat her.
And she even out the words, "You earned it." Like, I get it. Look, not like some stickler for kayfabe, but like, damn, can you be sad somewhat a little bit? Can you bit, please?
I mean, like when you're out right there on the apron and the camera's on you, I think that the camera shouldn't be necessarily on her for it, because you can have that moment backstage and they can film it and they put it on the WWE 24 special for next year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it because, well, the story, if you can even believe they were telling a story going into this, was that Charlotte would say that like Rhea would have to prove herself because she's never proven that she can beat Charlotte beforehand. So I guess it's the idea of like, you finally proved it. I'm kind of like in a way proud of you for stepping up and actually taking the mantle for yourself. So I could get that, but it was just the case that it was like there was like 8 or 9 camera pans over to Charlotte smiling and clapping and laughing on the floor. It's like, okay, maybe once or twice is enough, and then you just like, actually look at your champion instead. It kind of, again, I don't want to assume anything. I think it's just a case the camera just, or the production team just deciding to do it, but there is a still part of like a voice of back ahead saying, oh, Charlotte's doing that because she wants to. She's Hulk Hogan in this situation, which is essentially, when the Ultimate Warrior wins the world title, it's Hogan that hands the title to him and has the big moment, and you leave thinking about Hulk Hogan rather than the guy who actually won the title. I hope that wasn't the case, but I don't really.
It's a wrestling business; you never can count it out.
Yeah, and she's done certain things in the past that make you think that she would be so inclined to do something like that as well. But at least I was fascinated going into this just because I thought that she was going to sandbag it, and she did come out and she didn't look happy.
Yeah, for the first little bit, she was not smiling.
Yeah, so yeah, I thought that there might be a case that she would deliberately try and sabotage this a little bit, but she decided to use it as fuel to have one of the best matches of her career. And yeah, I think that I saw some people saying that this was the best women's WrestleMania match of all time. I wouldn't say that's not my personal one. My personal one is the Becky and Bianca match from last year, but I wouldn't say that it's a completely wrong opinion to say that was, because it was a great match, and Bianca and Asuka have quite an act to follow to try and match the level of this one.
Bianca and Sasha. Yeah. Bianca and Sasha, Bianca and Becky. Now this one, hopefully Bianca and Asuka tomorrow night. You got some really good top of the line WrestleMania women's matches. Keep it up. Keep doing it. Like, the more the merrier with that too, you know?
Try building a story next time.
Yeah, I mean, that is at least partially not their fault, but yeah, WWE should stop with we know the match is going to be good, so we'll see you in 7 weeks. Put more effort into that, and then you get even more people invested, and then look at that. It'll end up being an easy match of the year. Right now, I have this on my list for a potential match of the year candidate. I'll say that. A lot of positives in the chat right now going on. Wego saying they called kayfabe, lock him in a room with Cornette screaming. To guess what I'm saying, Kevin Dunn was the worst thing about this show. Stop changing the cameras so goddamn much. 100% agree. Tag titles for main event, but next year they have to have the women main event one night, or there's going to be big flack coming up. Could be. Depends on what they have planned. I mean, last year we didn't anticipate what happened with that, and then this year we wouldn't have been able to look ahead to this year and think that's what they were going to be planning on doing. So we have no clue what they might do for WrestleMania 40, but I would hope at the very least we're going to get matches as good as this next year. If they're not the main event, hopefully there's a reason. If they are, awesome. Cool, you know.
I think you never know, but I think there will be a concentrated effort next year to make sure that whatever one of those women's storylines will be the man.
Probably. Well, another thing that we didn't know that was going to be happening on this show was the little buffer segment that had going on here. Miz and Snoop Dogg, who they had done absolutely nothing, by the way. We forgot to talk about this. They never mentioned at all Snoop Dogg from what I can remember. It was on the poster and that was it. And Snoop Dogg is like, hey, what's the attendance record and all? How come you don't have a match tonight, Miz? And Miz talks up the idea that he put out an open challenge, but nobody's mad enough to fight him and all. Then Pat McAfee comes out. Michael Cole loses his shit.
Yeah, one of the more fun ideas of what they keep doing with Michael Cole is every time McAfee does anything, he's just like, oh my God, yes, McAfee.
Yeah.
What?
He gives me the same vibe as like a toddler where it's like, surprise, like your best friend's here or something, It's just like, oh man, let's just run around.
Corey Graves too, just being like, I hate this guy. Look at this guy. I really want to see Corey Graves fight him.
I really wanted Corey to have some kind of a match at Mania and to do something too. Yeah.
Now, was the deal that he was cleared? Or...
Yeah, he had said before something about him being cleared.
Yeah. Big fan of that stuff. I wasn't a fan of this segment. Fuck this.
Oh,
listen,
yeah. We're gonna be
out of the way.
It's gonna be the three of us that kind of all agree on this for a certain level.
Yeah, but let me just get this out of the way. We don't need to extend these fucking shows, okay? You split WrestleMania into 2 nights for no goddamn reason, because you're still ending the shows at midnight. So you didn't solve anything. You just expanded a problem.
Oh, they solved a major thing. They're getting more money out of this.
Well, whatever. I mean, yeah.
But they set this thing up. McAfee, of course, is like, hey, well, I'll have a match with you. And Snoop Dogg decides to make it official because Snoop Dogg can, because for some reason he's also the host and all. And it's basically just a two-move thing for the most part. George Kittle, a San Francisco 49er. I'm not a football fan, so I didn't know who he was.
Why wasn't he disqualified?
He, because Snoop Dogg made the match, so it's like none of the rules actually matter with this. But the Miz he pushes him, and then Kittle pops over the barricade, takes the Miz down. Eventually, McAfee gets a punt for the win, and this segment was not only supposed to be, get some media attention and get a pop for everything like that, but it certainly was supposed to be a buffer and to give the fans a little bit of a break between that amazing match that just happened and the main event. And it could have worked, but I think the fact that it was going so late in the night worked against them, because instead the audience took a little bit to start getting into the main event in certain ways. And I think that kind of killed some of the energy and some of the momentum for something that, to be perfectly honest, is not something that if we would have missed that on this card, that it would have been like, what really was missing? We didn't have McAfee do something, or we didn't have The Miz do something. I still thought that The Miz was going to do something or other, but like somebody, I forget who it is in the chat right here, somebody just mentioned it a minute ago, but I think it was Frankie. Frankie saying thought that the whole come out would end up being Bobby Lashley. I think that this was still more entertaining than if Lashley would have came out, because then it would have just been like, all right, what's the difference between this and an episode of Monday Night Raw? But I still think we might get something like that tomorrow. So
we will.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow has less matches on it than what they currently announced for going into tonight, and they ended up cramming this in there. So I am definitely expecting a segment like that. Maybe it's The Miz twice in a row, and it's Lashley or LA Knight or something. I don't know.
I think it will be The Miz.
Could very well be. I don't think it'll be Pat McAfee 2 nights in a row. I'll say
this. I thought it was going to be Snoop. I thought Snoop would just be like, I'll fight you. And then punch him and hit him. This was a bit longer than that. Just lame. Like, it's just lame. And I like McAfee, but too late in the night.
Callum loved this. So let's move on now. Just kidding. I'll give you some chance to say your things,
Yeah, this was like just crap, and it's like I say, like you guys have it bad. Like it's 4:00 in the morning for me, and this shit comes on. Like I already hate the Miz enough as it is, and the one thing also, like the one thing you haven't mentioned about this match, because in fact it only went 4 minutes, Miz still manages to miss Pat McAfee on a dive.
That's true.
Just like completely whiff it on there as well. It's like this guy fucking retire, or leave the business altogether. You never should have been in it in the first place. Just fuck off.
For the record, Miz, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
But it is kind of a recurring thing that he struggles to catch people on those. So it's one of those little, take a drink counter type things.
I want to talk about something really cool that I noticed before the main event. The Hell in a Cell's above the ring, and it's the proper cage. It's not the red cage. I'm so excited.
Random aside, do you guys miss the big blue cage for the steel cage matches that they used to have?
No, those hurt like hell, and I don't want people to I'd rather the fence. I don't want people to be rammed into iron bars.
I still kind of miss them a little bit.
Like Grandpa with your blue cages.
Yeah.
When I started watching wrestling, they'd already moved over into the mesh cages. So
back in my day, those cages used to be blue, and
did they, Grandpa?
I would be excited about the Hell in a Cell being the new color it is if I didn't know what the match was happening inside of it. So
it's not going to be the red cage. That's a small fix, guys.
Yeah, that's a step in the right direction. So we'll talk about that tomorrow night. But we still have one more match to talk about here. The main event. The Usos going in as the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions for Raw and SmackDown, going against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And the Usos have the first entrance. Apologies for the sirens in the background, everybody. It's not Scott Steiner, nor is it Rick Steiner, thankfully. The Usos had, I guess you could call it a special entrance, though not really. It's kind of a special entrance by proxy, because somebody named Lil Uzi Vert, I have no clue who this is, because I am not tapped into that scene of just pop culture in general when it comes to a lot of stuff with music. I don't follow any musicians. I don't care. It's not my thing. But at least my wife was like, oh, yeah, I've heard about him. And he raps.
Lil Uzi Vert is a big deal. It's just not a big deal in our world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know who's doing the America the Beautiful tomorrow. I keep forgetting. That's another whole side of music that I'm not into that either. And, you know, you talk about Hardy and the country stuff. I'm like, yeah, I don't know any of that. So it's like, I'm not at all the person that this is targeting towards and that I care. I've been to one concert in my entire life. And that's because my wife wanted to go. So the entrance wasn't even the intro, the Usos entrance. He sang or rapped some other song and then stood next to the Usos and then walked away. Thumbs down. I don't care.
On the flip side, Owens and Zayn.
On the flip side, what? We're kind of cutting out.
On the flip side, Owens and Zayn had PWG logo on their gear, and I thought that was fucking rad.
I didn't notice that.
They had that. Owens went so far as to have the Super Dragon logo on his gear, and I just like, it's so cool. There's a moment in their entrance where you just see Sami go to Kevin and go, look at everybody we're in front of. Like, this is crazy. And it's just a really cool moment. And echoing what I said a lot about the Hall of Fame, it's fucking beautiful, man. And it's a beautiful match. And the crowd was sort of dead for it, which hurt a little bit.
For a lot of it, they're out there. I mean, there was in particular a moment that made me go, what the hell, man? Was when the Usos were hitting their double super kicks on Sami Zayn. And he's kicking out at like 2.9. Big, like, oh, the match is still going on type moment. And the crowd's reacting as if there wasn't even a pinfall. And I'm like, don't kill this. Come on. Thankfully, not that long afterward, there's a 1D attempt. And I guess that was the thing that really made people think that could be the end of the match. So that made them go, oh, wait, we're supposed to be paying attention to this. Fuck, okay. And then from that point on, people cared again. But kind of like the Charlotte and Rhea match, it was like the beginning of it, people didn't have the energy. Once that one move kind of kicked them into waking up, then it became a fucking great match.
Yeah, it was. Once the crowd is super into it, it has great moments where Zayn is just taking a beating. Like, almost to the point where I was like, okay, he needs to fight back a little bit. Because he was just completely being assaulted. And he finally does start firing up. And he hits the exploder in the corner. And people pop. And then there's some great near falls where they actually do a haluva kick. And then Owens hits the stunner. And you believe, like, that could have been the end. But it wasn't. The Usos hit the one and done. And Zayn is the first person to kick out of it. That's a really fucking great near fall, because I was even looking at it like, oh my god, I think Sami's gonna lose.
Yeah,
and
got a little nervous there for a second.
So good. And then when it finally comes down to it, and Zayn gets the last hot tag, the place is just electric and on fire. And then it comes down to the two people it needs to come down to. It's Sami hitting Jay with 3 haluva kicks and a beautiful 3 count and tears, and everybody's crying, and Sami's wife is crying in the crowd, and you know, it's so great. Good guys deserve to win, man. Like, this is so great.
Good things are good.
Good things are good.
This is how they needed to end this, and how they need to end tomorrow. I'm still nervous about that.
I'm not. I think we're very much locked in. Good things are good. If they swerve me, then fuck it, they got me. But I think good things are good, and I think this even more so says Cody Rhodes is winning those belts, and we're all just going to be happy.
Yeah, this match was excellent from pretty much the start of it. Again, you said the quietness was a factor early on, and the crowd being somewhat tired did hamper it. I think also just the fact that the beat down on Sami before he made the tag was so comprehensive that I think the crowd just kind of lost energy in the sense that they just felt that they were going to then get squashed for a little bit. And so I think once he kicks out the 1D, then you start thinking, okay, they're going to win this because that's the Usos' big move. So you start to get a little bit more positive and optimistic towards it. But then they pretty much told the story that the Usos are the functioning tag team out of the two of them, even though Zayn and Owens have the close relationship. Usos just dominate them for the most part with like tons and tons of super kicks and tag team offense and double splashes, and then hitting the double like slam to Owens through the announce table. I mean, to be fair, like people talk about the how the Young Bucks matches are only a bunch of super kicks. They better watch this match as well because there must have been at least 20 to 30 super kicks in this match. I didn't actually keep count of it, but there were tons and tons of them. But it all worked together. They do the big spot towards the end where they've all hit their big moves and they've all kicked out of everything. And so they do the classic Owens and Zayn spot, but it's with the Usos instead, where it's just like fists in the middle of the ring, just brawling with each other. Eventually Sami gets his moment of just being able to deal with Jay hitting the free haluva kicks. He does the thing where it's like what I feel was like one of like a quintessential Sami Zayn moment, which is him going to the corner, just wiping his face down, like harking back to him winning the NXT Championship at that
takeover. Yeah, that's I think that wasn't before the takeover, was it? Wait, takeover was the second show onward. Yeah.
It was takeover our Revolution. Yeah, so he hits that third one, gets the pin. That's the moment that he deserves to after the year that he's had and how successful and how integral he's been. Some of the best parts of WWE TV over the last year to get that victory. To think like last year he was losing to Johnny Knoxville. You know,
a great match, but
obviously a great match, but like a comedy like match with a celebrity, to being in the main event of WrestleMania and winning the tag team championships and like being one of the most over guys in the entire company, and just everyone getting so excited. And I guess even the most great thing about this is that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens main evented WrestleMania, something that CM Punk's never done. And also I think and also seeing Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in the main event probably gave Jim Cornette a heart attack. So we can all rest easy after this one.
It's a great conclusion in some ways to a story that's been going on for years and years and years. Like, we've seen the ups and downs of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, where they've been partners, then they turn on each other and all that. And we've gotten, that they were in the running for the tag team titles. And now that they won it here at this stage as a main event against the champions that have broken the record, it means more than if they would have just had they win the belts around the time that they were feuding with Shane McMahon or something, How long ago was that? That was 5 years ago?
7 years ago?
Ooh. It's been a while. But yeah, that was a great end to the night. Kevin Owens did not turn on Sami Zayn yet, so it's not quite pulling that old switcheroo.
Wait till SummerSlam.
It might happen,
I hope it never. Listen, I don't care if I'm delusional. I don't care if I'm stupid. I hope it never happens again. I'm good. Just let them be friends. Let them be friends. It's okay. They can be friends.
What turn happens first? Kevin Owens turns heel on Sami Zayn, or Jinder Mahal turns babyface?
Well, fuck. I mean, the latter will never happen, so I guess Kevin turning heel.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, we got a first tag team main event in decades.
And more importantly, the first tag team title main event ever.
Ever, yeah.
And I've seen some people say this, I'm sure with, there are more authorities to speak on this, but it's very cool that Sami Zayn, in the month of Ramadan, is the first Muslim to ever headline Mania. That's history in its own right. That's representation in its own right. Kevin Owens becomes the first person to main event WrestleMania Saturday 2 years in a row.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Think about that. The
lot of
Usos get
really-
another major thing to check off their list to be like
Usos-
arguably the best tag team in the entire history of the company.
Mark my words, the Usos will be the only tag team champions that can ever say they defended the titles in the main event of WrestleMania.
I highly doubt we're going to be looking at the next 10, 15 years thinking, okay, well, there's been another 3 tag team title defenses at the main event of WrestleMania or something. So
Samoan legacy of wrestling really carries the early days of the WWF, and I think the Usos are the pinnacle of that, and the pinnacle of tag team wrestling. And I didn't get any notifications to the contrary, so no one asked like I asked them to, but I really hope we get new tag team title belts.
I really hope so.
I really, like, all I want to start Raw is a new champions celebration.
I want Cody and Sami and Kevin to be given some different championships and some same championships. Kind of depends on thing. I want them to split the main titles up, and I want them to have new tag team belts because I've hated these belts for 10 plus years. But we don't even know what's going to happen yet on WrestleMania Night 2. So we do still have another whole event of this tomorrow night to break down. And in usual fashion, we'll be doing not only the live coverage for it during the show, and we'll have our chat up on the Mega Maniacs Facebook group and all, but we will also be having another one of these post shows immediately following where we will not just break that down, but we'll also get into the Fantasy League side of things. But any updates when it comes to the Fantasy League, real quick, Callum, that you want to toss out there for tonight at the very least?
I mean, I can give some stuff away. So obviously, there's a lot of points been flying around. I can say that the person that earned the most points, thanks to Tony playing the doubling Sami Zayn's points for this month, means that he picked up a massive 36 points over the course of the last 2 things based on the WrestleMania victory. But still, as it stands right now, I'm still leading going into the final show. But one thing that you guys might have forgotten about, because obviously you mentioned it right at the very start when I set out the rules of the Fantasy League, is that there's going to be penalty points applied.
Mm-hmm.
Because
a lot of people this year are not sitting out for a long time frame and getting fired and all.
I got John Cena on my
so it's
team.
So both for people that didn't appear very often or people that were released, there's going to be penalty points applied. So that could be a game-changing situation depending on how many losses each of us are going to incur. But we're still kind of like a wait and see thing for WrestleMania, and we'll see if we'll see who is picking up the final points. As I say, that's all for tomorrow. You can check out WWEFantasyLeague.com to get the very latest version of the current standings, and so check all that stuff out because tomorrow we crown our victor.
Woo. Yeah, so stay tuned. Go ahead.
I'll just say as well in terms of like the predictions as well, going into who will be like kind of like a front runner going into next season of the Fantasy League. Just going to call that up now because I think I might be. I think I was stupid because I honestly, when I make my predictions, our official predictions that we do kind of like privately once we've decided what things are going to happen, I forgot who Charlotte Flair was wrestling, so I just assumed that Charlotte was going to win.
Let's see, we had
so you predicted.
I got Cena wrong. I got Dom wrong.
Rollins. Yeah. So you got Cena and Dom wrong. The rest of them all right. So you've got 5 points. I got Charlotte and Logan wrong. So
right.
I've got 5 as well.
Same on that.
And Rob's got
Rob got all of them right.
Oh, he got
Cena wrong.
He got Cena wrong. Yeah, so Rob
I
is
thought
leading
Cena
then.
was gonna win. Fuck me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Rob's leading with 6-6. So we'll check on the other six matches tomorrow. So it's still all to play for. Like we've got 5, Rob's got 6. So it will come down to tomorrow night, and also that will be where we do the tie break based on the main event. Main event will not count entrances, by the way, so it's not going to go 4 hours. So don't predict anything that long. But that's probably the reason why there's only 6 matches tomorrow, because you do have to account for the hour that it will take for Roman Reigns to get to the ring.
It's true.
And Cody, I mean, let's be real. Cody's gonna have the Cody Vader and all of the pyro in the state of California.
That's all saving it for tomorrow night. Yeah. So tomorrow night should be a lot of fun. Hopefully it is equal, if not better, than what we got for WrestleMania Night 1 here for WrestleMania 39. Lots of surprises, I'm sure, still in there. And hopefully they are things that are on our end of the year awards for some of the best things of 2023. Keep in mind all the things we mentioned before. Go back and check out the ROH Supercard of Honor Pay-Per-Viewpoint and the WWE Hall of Fame discussion. Check out the Stand and Deliver Pay-Per-Viewpoint post show that we had done earlier today. Also, be sure to do that Dusty Rhodes Funko Pop contest we got going on. Vote on the Smark Madness tournament. Check out the different things that you've got on fanboysanonymous.com. Check out the Batman and Nighttime story and the Blueprint Project. Also go to the link tree that you can find at anthonymango.com or amangotree.com. Follow and subscribe all over those different things that I got, like my personal Facebook and Twitter account and such. And stay tuned to the Marketplace options, like the join button and the Patreon and all, for the Darkcast of whatever we do in April, because we are in April now. So we're going to have one of those coming up pretty soon. Maybe something about Man on the Moon. Maybe something completely unrelated. I don't know. We haven't figured it out yet. Pick up some merchandise on TeePublic and Redbubble, and make sure you are staying tuned to what these guys have going on as well.
Yep. Follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. Check everything out on Fightful.com. Check everything out on WrestleZone.com. Just go back to Fightful real quick. Fightful Select, best $5 in the game. If you would have had Fightful Select, you would have known that Bad Bunny would be on commentary, even though WWE oddly didn't promote it, which I think is weird. If you're on Fightful right now, there's a great article from The Rock, who talked about NXT and his daughter debuting, and even threw out a good luck, Roman. Maybe I'll see you down the road.
Yeah, maybe. Sure. All right. I've heard that story for 10 years.
So, Rock is keeping it alive. But yes, check everything out there. We appreciate your support. Markout Moment is the fun thing, and we love doing it, and we would love to do it more with better quality with your help. Helen?
Yep, you can follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. As mentioned, the Fantasy League is there at www.fantasyleague.com, or you can find it through the Smark Moment navigation, where you also find the power rankings, which are a little out of date right now. But if you want to see the final standings of the 2022-2023 season of the power rankings, you can check that out. And wait until next week's one for the WrestleMania updated version.
And obviously stay tuned to smarkoutmoment.com for everything that's happening there. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you're listening to us on Spotify or elsewhere, follow us there. Leave a like or a share or follow or a rating or whatever it is that you're listening. I don't know what some of those are. But anything that it is on that front, go ahead and do that. Thank you for listening to this. Thank you in advance for tuning in tomorrow. Try to join us live. And thank you to everybody who was joining us live for this. We will see you in, less than 24 hours at this point. And, roll along with WrestleMania 39 Night 2. Adios for now, though, everybody. This has been another Smart Out moment, and we are being counted out.